Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
Dan is with me again today to do another Spider-Man podcast commentary. And Dan, it's been almost 4 months since we did the last one.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I've been looking forward to doing this one because this is probably the best Spider-Man film that's on DVD right now, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I can even see people making a case for this film being slightly better than the remake, but we'll have to talk about that.
Yes, we will.
I don't know, time got away from us. I did not mean for it to be this long between these commentaries, but we're back, here we are, and if you haven't listened to one of these commentary podcasts before, what we do is we talk along with the film while we're watching it. You can watch it too if you like, and we'll tell you when to start your DVD. If you're planning on watching it with us, and you've got it on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever it is, just gear your disc up to the very beginning of the film, so past the menus and everything, just pause it at 0 on the timer, and then hit play as soon as we tell you to. And if you're not going to watch this with us, if you know the film okay, I mean, you probably shouldn't listen to this if you've never seen the movie. But if you know the film okay, you should be able to follow us okay. What we like to do is make this, instead of just a straight-up commentary, it's still a podcast. So we'll be talking all the way through it without leaving giant gaps in between things. And we'll try to give you some context for what we're talking about in case you don't happen to be watching it with us. Dan, are you ready?
I think so.
All right, Spider-Man 2, here we go. So, everybody, press your play button right now.
Columbia. I love the score, the opening song of all of these movies.
And it's funny because it has been criticized by people before for not being catchy and whistleable enough.
Really?
Yeah, where it just, for some people it doesn't compare to like the Superman score and stuff like that. Although I think that times have changed a bit where we don't seem to write scores like that as much anymore. Where, it's not like Batman Begins and Dark Knight have that either.
Right, yeah. I don't know, I think this score pretty much, for me, sort of sums up the tone of this, these films pretty well. I don't know. And I like the sort of, quick, I don't know what the instrument is, but the quick sort of string, instruments in the background, it sort of reminds me of web spinning or him swinging or climbing or something.
Yeah, well, that's definitely percussion of some kind.
Yeah.
So, James Franco is a guy who has had quite the illustrious career since these movies.
Yes, he has. A lot of different movies, too. He does a lot of comedies, he'll do drama, and I think that's cool. He has a good sense of humor about himself. I really like James Franco.
I always like these kinds of credits that kind of recap the first film a little bit in case it's been a while since you've seen it. And I like that they don't do it with just straight pictures, but they're actually painted.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if that's Alex Ross artwork, too, because he did a lot of concept stuff for the first film.
Yeah, well, and it was Alex Ross in the first one.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that, but
I'm pretty sure it was. I think I read that someplace.
Cool.
Well, I guess some of these are photos, aren't they?
They look like just
here and there. Some of them are.
Yeah.
But most of them are just straight up drawings. But there was one of Mary Jane that was obviously a photo.
Yeah, for sure. That one looks very much like Alex Ross, the one of him on the wall.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? That looks like almost straight out of Marvel's.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, I love that shot.
That's so creepy.
With the green. Yeah.
That's great. Do you think that maybe that's slightly a nod? Maybe I'm going too far with this, but do you think that doing the kind of recap pictures is a little bit of a nod to like Superman 2 in the way that they did that movie? Because I mean, it wasn't really this, but it's just the idea of like reminding you what happened in the other one. Because these shots really are kind of the important things that happen.
Yeah, either that or sort of a homage to like the recap pages before comics or something.
Oh yeah, that too.
See, I love this opening scene because it establishes everything you need to know about your main character just by, showing what kind of position Peter is in his life. in this opening scene. He's having a lot of trouble balancing everything, and they tell you that straight away with this opening scene.
I also always thought that it was kind of fun and ironic that Mary Jane's picture is everywhere, and he's kind of a nobody, even though he's Spider-Man, but nobody knows that.
Yeah. I really like that. And you pointed this out, I think in your Rewind review of it, this place only serves Dr. Pepper.
Yep, that's all they have is Dr. Pepper. Look, that's it. Well, actually, there are a couple places where you can see 7-Up and stuff, but for the most part, like,
yeah.
It looks like it's Dr. Pepper. By the way, this whole 21-minute guarantee thing makes zero sense in the middle of New York City. You cannot tell me that there is a single pizza place in New York City that now or ever has ever attempted that.
Yeah, I can't imagine
getting anywhere. I've not lived there, but look, there's a traffic jam. Yeah. There's always a traffic jam.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, Mr. Aziz is saying, I need you to do something illegal. Well, he is.
I never thought of it that way, but that's really funny.
Yeah, because how the heck else is he supposed to get there in 21 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, he has to swing around as Spider-Man to get there, and even then he doesn't get there on time.
Yeah. Just because he's got to be all responsible. Because if you haven't caught it by now, that's what these movies are about.
Yeah. And that's good, because that's what the character's about. It's good they got that down.
Yeah. Not that they...
See, that actor that they just showed talking about the pizzas, he looks really familiar. I feel like I've seen him in other things before.
I always thought that, too. I remember in the theater thinking that was so funny. This is a little cliche, though, that Spider-Man's got to save these kids from getting run over with, like, a ball going in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Is that the cleverest thing they could come up with? Like, he might as well have saved a cat out of a tree.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, yes, Mr. Spider-Man is great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it's sure a good thing he was right there at the nick of time.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
If this was Dan Slott's Spider-Man, there would have been some other kids that got ran over, like the street next door, and then Spider-Man would think it was his fault.
Yeah, and he would have tried to murder some villain in response.
That's mean, I'm sorry. Okay, would you please explain this to me?
What do you want me to explain to you?
How did Peter Parker get in that closet?
I don't know.
He's in a closet! Was there a skylight in the closet?
Possibly, or an air vent or something.
The first time I saw this movie, that bothered me. It's just like, I mean, again, it's funny, from a directing standpoint, I see what Raimi's doing here. It's great slapstick.
Yeah.
And this receptionist at the desk is fantastic. She's hilarious.
Yeah. She's the actress from Bones, isn't she?
I haven't seen enough Bones to actually recognize that actress, but you may be right, I don't know.
I think it might be. I haven't seen a ton of that show either, but I think she looks like that actress.
She's such a jerk. He was a minute and a half late.
Yeah.
And she's not paying for this.
Yeah. But it's good, I really like how everything kind of goes wrong for him here, because that's sort of classic Spider-Man,
Yeah, and it's also really comic book, the way that, like what the things are, because they are a little absurd. I mean, It's a heightened reality, it's not realistic. I think the beginning of Spider-Man 3 takes it a bit too far, but I think they've got it pretty much spot on, at least Stan Lee days here, and we know that's what Raimi likes, is the Stan Lee Ditko days. Yeah,
he likes the Stan Lee, Ditko, and Romita stuff. He's said many times that that's the stuff that informed these films, and you can tell. I mean, look at J. Jonah Jameson here, spitting image of the character from the comics.
Have you heard that there's a rumor going around that he might get cast as in that role again?
That would be cool, but I don't know if he'd be able to give the same sort of performance in the universe that they made in the reboot. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd like to think, but I don't know him very well, but as an actor, but I'd like to think that maybe he's versatile enough that he could play it slightly different.
Oh, I'm not doubting his acting talent, but I don't know if they'd be able to use him in a way that would be as enjoyable as this. You know what I mean?
Well, probably not. I mean, I'm not entirely sure you
Right.
even really need him in that continuity.
Yeah, I don't.
I guess it just depends on what
necessarily
you
do
want to do with it, but
I can.
I'm
see
just
them-
not sure that I'm just not sure that like a news photographer makes as much sense in 2012 even as it did here in 2004.
Oh no, definitely not. I can picture them going with more of an Ultimate approach to him working at the Daily Bugle. In Ultimate, he's sort of a computer techie guy for the Bugle, and Jameson is he's not as much of a caricature as he is in the Stan Lee stuff in Ultimate. He doesn't like Spider-Man, but he has sort of legitimate reasons for it, and then he comes around on him later.
Well, it might be cool to see Simmons play one with more depth, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And then we get the infamous Kurt Connors, who never got to become the Lizard.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, so let's do this, shall we, Dan?
Yes.
Which actor do you prefer in that role? Now that you've seen the reboot, or is it even something we can compare?
I don't know. I don't think there was enough with either of them in either films for me to say. I don't know. Like, this guy's good, and the guy in the reboot, I think, was good with what little screen time he was given, but I can't really say which one I prefer. Maybe once I see some of the deleted scene footage on the DVD of Amazing Spider-Man, because they've listed all the deleted scenes that are going to be on that disc, and there's like 10, 20 of them.
Wow. We should do a video on that.
Oh, we should.
When it comes out. So Kurt Connors just had my favorite line in the entire movie that I actually still quote today, which is, "Planning is not a major at this university." And I'm not making fun of it.
Yeah.
That is a really, really great line.
Yes, it is.
That is something that I could see a college professor actually saying to somebody.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think they got a lot of the characters in these films right, except for Peter and Mary Jane.
Yeah, which is so weird, because they're the most important. I even think that they got Harry Osborn better than those two.
Oh, definitely. I really like James.
Honestly, he's creepy in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, like 3, he becomes kind of a caricature of himself. Here, when when he starts kind of darkening up in his speech, and he's like, "You're taking pictures for your friend," and he's just kind of creepy, like.
Yeah, they sort of because they had that storyline in the comics where he was on drugs, and that's sort of when his life deteriorated, and they didn't do that in the Raimi films, but I can sort of see them paralleling a lot of the things that he went through, just with the attitudes that he has towards things. Like, he kind of grows crazy here just because he knows that Spider-Man killed his father, but the drugs definitely helped him along in that way in the comics, but here it's just sort of that, and it works here, I think.
I think that it gets close to going almost overboard.
Yeah.
I think that by 3 it totally does.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially when it's like, "Hey, Bernard, why didn't you tell me the thing you knew?" That whole thing's hilarious and really stupid. But yeah, I do think that the one thing that they do really well with him is having him trying really hard to become his father.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole, like, I care, trying to care more about money than anything else, and that sort of thing. And that the whole, he's kind of overcompensating. He's trying to be overconfident. The whole line where he's like, "See you in Sweden" and all that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah. I mean, and that's classic Harry Osborn stuff too.
Yeah. Ooh, that look. He's so creepy.
Yeah. Notice of foreclosure.
Just in case you wanted to make sure you're in the same place we are on the DVD.
And this is another problem that Peter had to deal with in the early comics a lot, was trying to help provide for Aunt May once Uncle Ben left, and I appreciated that it was in here.
Yeah, me too. Now, did she do the same kind of thing where, like, she wouldn't, take any money from him and stuff like that?
It wasn't as intense as it is in this scene. She's sort of like, "Oh no, Peter, I don't want to take the money from you. You use it for yourself," and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't get to the point here where she's like, angry at him for trying to give her money or not accept the money she gives him.
I don't know about you, I actually like that.
Yeah, me too.
I like that she can get harsher with him, and she says, no, you can take this money, it's not very much, and it's only $20, and again, it feels real. It feels like something that you could see people having to deal with their parents, their grandparents.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think,
especially from her generation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just, hard work, having what you have and appreciating it. That's very much that generation.
Yeah, I think this continuity does a great job with pretty much all the supporting cast except for Mary Jane, and taking the caricatures that the characters sort of were early on, and making them three-dimensional characters. And they sort of dropped the ball on Peter and Mary Jane, like we said before, which is weird. And they were Peter at least was the most well fleshed out character in the comics, obviously, because he was the lead and everything. But Aunt May definitely isn't the completely doubting wheat cake cooking aunt of the comics.
Yeah, it's strange. She has more. She actually has more dimension in this than she did in the early comics.
Yeah, she does.
I don't want to say that Peter has less. It's just kind of wrong in places. I don't know if that even makes any sense.
It's just a different characterization with this character than we're used to seeing, I think, where he's not really the angry social outcast that he was in the comics early on. It's sort of him, the woe is me kind of characterization.
Which I think bugged me a lot at this time, just because I felt like I was seeing a lot of teen angst things go that way.
Yeah.
It was almost like we can justify characters not being proactive and kind of sitting around feeling sorry for themselves so that we can let our teenage actors act,
Yeah.
Just because they're teenagers and they haven't grown up yet, and so they can do that. And then my question is always, at what point do they get to grow up?
Right.
Like, it's okay if you take them to that place at some point, but the problem is, and we talked about this in the first movie some, he's in college within the first, half hour, 45 minutes of that movie. How old do we have to get him before he doesn't have to be this, teenage, non-proactive, woe is me kind of character?
Right. And like you said before, getting the characters to that sort of place is an interesting sort of thing. And if this was a standalone film, I could totally see them justifying bringing him to that place, because that's what this story's based on, is the Spider-Man No More story in issue 50, and that's one of the few places where we see Peter break down and cry and, think that it's probably not a good idea to be Spider-Man anymore. But because in this film series we have him crying all the time, it doesn't have the same sort of weight that it carried in the comics.
Yeah. I do think that he finds a certain confidence here that he certainly, of course, didn't in the first one. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, thank God it got a sequel.
Yeah.
I think that he still wasn't, and maybe it was because they were planning more movies. He obviously is still not 100% to a confident place at the end. He kind of needs Mary Jane to leave her new husband at the altar and run to him and tell him that things are going to be okay and stuff. And so 3 really should have been the place where he just totally came to his own. Mm-hmm. That should have been. Not that they should have gone to this point, but I just mean that characterization-wise, Spider-Man 3 is where we should have seen Peter emotionally in the place that he was, when he was married during, Maximum Carnage and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they sort of get him to a place where he's confident at the beginning of Spider-Man 3 to the point where he's overconfident, but we don't really see that happen. It happens off-screen between the sequels.
Yeah, and he's so overconfident that the film plays it like he's being a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, we'll talk about that when we do Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. Mr. Dickovich is hilarious, by the way.
Was he a comic book character, or did they make him up?
I think they made him up. But I'm not sure. From what I remember, I think he's made up. He just grabs the money.
Sorry, it doesn't pay the rent, and planning is not a major at this university. Peter just cannot get a break.
I love how he snarls at him.
This movie has a lot of great comedy.
Oh, it does.
It's quite funny.
It does. It's kind of strange that
Good blend.
None of the comedy really comes from Peter's dialogue, which is, I think, the biggest problem I have with it. But I have to say, overall, I think the film is pretty funny.
Yeah, well, and again, you have that same thing that you had with the first one, where
Yeah.
he jokes, he makes token jokes in the costume just because he's supposed to, but not because we actually buy it coming from that character.
Right. Like, the character in this movie just doesn't feel like a funny guy, whereas in the comics, out of costume, he's funny. He says sarcastic things out of the costume, too.
Well, and if he's going to be sarcastic in costume, I'd love to see him do things like, you know, he's down and out, he's really down on his luck, he's got no money. Why wouldn't he just, like, when he's got nothing better to do in the middle of the night like that, throw his costume on and go swing around and just try to cheer himself up a little bit? Because Spider-Man did that all the time in the comics.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. He would just go out on patrol and think about things.
Sometimes he wasn't even looking for crime. He'd just be swinging around.
Yeah, having those famous, Spider-Man internal monologues.
Well, and that's what you would do.
Yeah.
You know, if you had those abilities.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In the same way that people go out for drives or for walks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I was going to mention this when we did our Spider-Man 1 commentary. I don't think I mentioned it, but I think one of the things with this film in relation to conveying Peter's emotions is I think they had a hard time with sort of translating his internal monologues into film, into a screenplay where you can't have him talking, narrating over things all the time. So they sort of have the moments where he's sort of, worrying about things in his head, and then they just have him crying on screen to, show the audience what he's feeling.
It seems like they were trying really hard to figure out what the heck to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Raimi struggled a lot with that.
Yeah, I think so, too.
And, I don't know if we talked about this in the first movie or not, but the animated series had that problem, where they had him talking to himself way too much in that show.
Yeah. It was almost constant. It never stopped.
No, and, like, a quarter of every episode was flashback.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad we don't have that in this movie.
True, yeah. And I have to say, my favorite interpretation of Doc Ock is in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people's now. And it didn't have a whole lot of competition. I like Doc Ock in the comics just as kind of the fun two-dimensional character he was, but he didn't have a great deal of motivation.
Right, he was just sort of that evil guy. And he's a great Spider-Man villain because of the things that he's caused happen in Peter's life that have been, significant, like the death of Captain Stacy, and the story where it's the final chapter where he has to push the giant hunk of metal off of him while he's, struggling for, like, the entire issue. And
yeah, that's one of the coolest issues of anything ever.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
In fact, there's a part of me that always, nothing against Stan Lee, but Stan almost made that issue not as good by putting too many words in it.
Yeah. He tends to do that. Stan Lee does overwrite things sometimes.
He really could have taken all the words out of that and let it be 3 pages of no words at all.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it would have been as gripping as it was, or more so.
Yeah. I went back and reread those comics so many times that Steve Ditko is slowly becoming my favorite artist.
Oh, wow.
I've just come to appreciate reading the old Spider-Man stuff and his run on Doctor Strange with Lee. It's just great stuff.
Yeah.
But I think this characterization is really interesting to look at in retrospect when you look at the stuff that was published after this too, because they published a mini called Doc Ock Year One, where shortly after this film was released, or it was released as a tie-in to the film, where they sort of tried to make him have a sympathetic backstory. We had an abusive father and things like that, which I thought was...
Wow.
Doc Ock Year One is actually a great book.
Great.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's really cool that this character doesn't really need that kind of a backstory because he's not really a villain.
Right, yeah.
And, of course, he becomes that, but there's never really a lot of malice to him because he's having to fight the AI of those legs. And I think it's also really neat, though, that he doesn't ever completely lose himself either. It's not like mind control.
Yeah, it's almost sort of like the Venom Eddie Brock dynamic.
Yeah.
Which is sort of interesting.
Can I just say that?
Raimi doesn't like Venom.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder where they got that idea.
I don't know. It makes a lot of sense, though.
It's inspired.
Yeah.
And at the time, this was called by a lot of critics the best comic book supervillain on screen because it didn't have a lot of competition in the sympathetic villain department.
That is true.
I think he's been surpassed since then.
Oh, yeah, but I still think it holds up as one of the best. I don't think it is the best, period, but I would put him up there with the best.
Absolutely.
I mean, I like Heath Ledger's Joker a lot, but I'd put this Doc Ock characterization in that same sort of category. I like it that much.
And I like that it's not a revenge plot.
True, yeah. And they fixed the problem they had in the first movie where the villain didn't have any motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing with Green Goblin was that he didn't have zero motivation, but he sure didn't have enough motivation. Not to do a lot of things that he actually did.
Yeah, I mean, he accomplished his goal pretty early in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It became way too stereotypical. I have to fight the superhero and get him out of my way to do, well, nothing, because I already got rid of those Quest guys, and that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Well, the Quest guy is in the board, and that was also a revenge plot.
I love this, where he has to explain to the kids how he did that.
I think it's really funny that he's just standing right in the middle of the street while he's... Like, it's sure a good thing no other cars are driving by. I mean, like, really?
Well, at least he's standing in a crosswalk. He's not jaywalking.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, you don't want Spider-Man to break the law, especially out of costume.
Judge Dredd will come get him.
I've been working on a Judge Dredd rewind just before this, and I made the joke that I would have a tough time not mentioning Judge Dredd. So Dan's doing it for me. Thanks, Dan. I love the webs grabbing the police car just before it lands on people.
Yeah, the webs in this this franchise actually, I think they look really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen the webs in any other place look shiny, and sort of so thin. Like in the comics, they're always like either the Ditko sort of thing where it's a spider web that sort of just comes out and it expands as it comes out of his wrist, or it's the McFarlane thing where it's spiraling ropes. I've never seen it as individual strands. I thought that was cool.
It is cool. Although, aren't there some versions where it's just a straight line?
Sometimes. It depends really on who's drawing it, but most of the time it's one of those two.
I want to point out that in this film, Mary Jane is in a play that actually exists.
Really?
And that in the third film, Mary Jane is in a play that is not a real play.
That's funny.
I'm pretty sure, because I looked it up when I was working on the trivia book, and I was, oh, you know what? I should look up some trivia and give you some trivia from this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like we did with the
first one.
Yeah, we should do that.
Oddly enough, I don't think I've seen this movie as much as one, though, because as a kid, Green Goblin's always been my favorite supervillain, so I used to watch the crap out of the first one all the time.
I think I've seen them maybe on par with each other.
Yeah. I love Bruce Campbell and his cameos. I would have loved to see him play Mysterio.
Yep, I agree with that. He totally should have. Now, did he voice Mysterio in the video games, or?
He narrated all of the...
I narrated. I just asked because I knew Mysterio was in the second one.
I'm not sure if he did.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
Can I just say that the video game for this movie was really, really good?
Yes, it was. It was fantastic.
It was
the best Spider-Man, or one of the best superhero games at the time when it came out.
At the time, yeah. Well, it was the first one to really do that open world thing for Spider-Man right.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, most Spider-Man games have been open world because of the success of that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember the first movie game, it was sort of linear like the one that was on N64 and PS1.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was just so cool to be able to swing around New York. I mean, I do that in the new game, the Amazing Spider-Man one, just swing around for fun. It's a blast. Oh, he's tearing up.
Well, that's this version.
It almost looks like that guy in the windbreaker is like walking in step with them.
So, Dan, are you ready for a trivia question?
Sure.
Here's a question of course, I try to give you things that we haven't seen yet. Here we go.
Yeah.
What book of poems, by the way, I just gotta say real quick, sorry, that I never liked him opening his shirt or jacket up like that to reveal the Spider-Man symbol, because it's just too Superman.
Yeah.
Never liked that.
Fair enough.
What book of poems, a book of poems by what author does Peter read from in an effort to impress Mary Jane?
I have no idea.
And here are your multiple choice.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it Dickinson, Whitman, Longfellow, or Eliot?
What was the first one again?
Dickinson, Whitman, Longfellow, or Eliot?
I want to say Dickinson.
Nope, it's Longfellow.
Oh, okay. I was going to say either that or Whitman, so.
Yeah, Emily Dickinson would be a strange choice for love poetry, I gotta be honest with you.
Oh, really?
That's maybe not the first place you'd go.
I don't think I've read any of her stuff.
Oh, okay. Dickinson was strange.
Oh, really?
And a genius, but also strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I studied her quite a bit in high school.
Oh, cool. This is
So,
awesome
what do you think of this, this really long elevator scene?
I think it's really funny.
I always thought it was pretty funny, too.
Yeah.
It also compounds my problem with the first movie, where he says, I made it, and I'm like, out of what? With what money? And for that, I give you 100. Which is what I'm going to use to go make my Spider-Man suit.
It's actually really interesting, too. I was watching a featurette on the DVD of this movie not too long ago, and I actually didn't realize the muscle tone on Spider-Man is actually in the suit to make it look more muscular.
Oh,
like
yeah.
all the abs and stuff, like that shading there, that's all on the suit.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, I think that's pretty obvious, actually.
Oh, really?
Just looking at it, yeah.
I couldn't tell when I watched it before, but...
Oh, okay. Well, no offense or anything, I just think it's pretty evident.
No, I didn't take any offense. I was just saying.
Not in the face, not in the face! You know, Peter Parker just, like, not only does he have no luck in this movie, but it just gets absurd, the kind of things that he has to go through.
Like that.
Now he's walking down the street with, like, 500 pictures of Mary Jane staring at him. After she's probably never going to speak to him again.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd have a hard time not slitting my wrists after that, dude. That's terrible. So, we should talk about this whole subplot of Peter Parker losing his powers because of his lack of confidence. What do you think of that? Because I always hated it.
I think it's really weird. They don't really establish how that works.
They never come right out and say it. I mean, they've got the silly thing with the doctor-therapist guy. Well, not therapist, but with the doctor guy who's like, maybe you're not supposed to be Spider-Man climbing on walls and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you get the sense that it's supposed to be connected to a confidence thing.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, he gets something spliced into his DNA. They firmly established that in the first movie. I don't understand how your DNA stops working when you're not confident. You know what I mean?
I don't get it either. I don't think practically it really makes any sense. I've had people argue with me on it saying, well, no, it's a metaphor. I'm like, okay, metaphors are great, but it has to make sense within the plot, you know?
Right, exactly.
Within the inner workings of the actual movie, I have to understand how it plays. Metaphors aren't just metaphors. They're not like just in the ether, this symbolizes this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just stick... That would be like saying if you took a poem and then took a metaphor from another poem and stuck it in the middle of it, saying that it works because it's a metaphor.
Because it's a metaphor, yeah. And so I get that it's supposed to that it's somewhat symbolic of this idea of, but it's not even symbolic. It's just kind of right there. It's like he's not confident, so he falls down and hurts himself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of would have preferred if it was sort of a voluntary thing for him, and he sort of makes that distinct choice. I mean, he makes the choice in here not to do it, but it's also the thing where he can't physically do it either.
Yeah, well, it becomes dangerous for him.
Right.
Hey, since we're getting up to it, real quick, here's another trivia question, Dan.
Sure.
How does Dr. Octavius' wife get killed?
She gets shards of glass in her, doesn't she?
Yep. Right in her face. Right in the camera.
I'm kind of glad they didn't show that. That would have been nasty.
Yeah, yes, that would have been nasty. But Raimi probably wanted to.
Yeah, because he has that really creepy scene later with the tentacles.
Yeah, which I never liked, by the way.
You didn't like that?
No, I don't think it fits tonally in the movie.
Fair enough.
I think it's like a horror scene from another Raimi film protruding its way into this film.
Yeah.
I know that not everybody agrees with me on that. That's just my opinion. It felt obtrusive to me in the theater.
That's fair enough. I can see where you're coming from.
I think the inhibitor chip is a bit weak.
Yeah?
As an idea. Because it's one of those artifacts where all you gotta do is smash it and you're good.
Yeah, that's kind of true. It is kind of really risky to use those things when you think about it.
Yeah. I guess he's not thinking of things like maybe I'll get in a giant battle with Spider-Man, so I should probably hide this glowing thing on the back of my neck.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess it sort of works on that level.
Yeah. I love the design of the tentacles, by the way, too.
Me too. Yeah, they're wonderful. And I also really appreciate the fact that it was a practical effect.
Was it really?
I think sometimes it was.
That's awesome.
I know that they built some real tentacles. See, now that I say that, I'm going to get myself into trouble. I know they're CG sometimes, but I also know they built some practical tentacles and that they do different things with them.
That's awesome. Did they use, like, puppeteering to move them around?
Yeah.
Like that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
They did some... I can't talk any more about it because I don't remember exactly what all they did, but I know that they built them and that they did some puppeteer work.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I also think it's funny that his tritium machine thing is also shaped like his arms.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, it kind of is.
And that there's 4 of them. There's a lot of great design work in this movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's just a really pretty movie. There's only 25 pounds of it on the whole planet. I know that because that was another trivia question.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
The tritium looks really cool, too.
I think so, too.
Yes, the goggles.
This movie still totally holds up. I'm having a great time watching this.
Yeah, I was thinking about that before, because I was just listening to Doc Ock explain the science and everything. I was like, just in the movie.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time not getting lost in this. It's great fun.
It definitely is.
I mean, it's not perfect, and we've already talked about some stuff we don't like, but it's got an energy that... Oh, did you see that? That was Quan from Lost.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Jin Quan from Lost.
Harry Osborn just made me laugh with his vigorous clapping.
On Hawaii 5-0.
Oh, he's on Hawaii 5-0 too?
Yeah, he's had a very illustrious career. He was a character actor at this point, and he was in everything. I mean, he was in just as kind of bit characters and minor recurring characters and things. He was an Angel, he was in 24, he was in Enterprise.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. See, they have like the classic Doc Ock get-up going on right here. They should have put him in a green tank top. That would have been awesome.
Well, I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah, I'm just kidding around.
I do love that they actually found an actor who looks like Dr. Octopus.
Oh yeah, he's a spitting image of him.
And I've seen him in other things. He's amazing.
Yes, he is. I saw a movie with him where he was a like, he was, and I forget what culture he was from. I think he was from the Middle East, and he married a woman in America, and they moved back into the Middle East, and he, like, was really abusive towards her and stuff because of the culture he was in. He was really good in that. I saw it in a history class in high school.
I always like it when a character is so stupid to say a line like, I'm in control, just before they almost get slammed by something.
Yeah.
You almost want them to get hit just for the irony of it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And it's really sad when his wife dies, man.
I know. You really feel for him. And then that nice conversation that Peter, her, and him had before makes you really feel for her, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. It's nice when you have decent enough writing. Well, I don't even want to say decent. There's a lot of good writing in this movie. I like that. I like that you can have a single scene with her where, I mean, she's not the most fully developed character in the world. Not everybody has to be, but you've seen enough of her that she feels like a real person, and you care when she gets killed.
Right, yeah. She's sympathetic.
And it's also nice that Dr. Octopus's entire plot does not revolve around the fact that his wife died.
Yeah, that is true. I never even thought of that. He totally could have devolved into a Mr. Freeze.
They did, for the little bits of stereotypical stuff that is in this movie, you know, like the little kids with the ball in the middle of the street, they managed to avoid a lot of the big cliches, especially after establishing a lot of the cliches in the first movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do you have any idea who wrote the script for this film?
You know, I used to know that, and I'll look it up.
Oh, okay.
I'll look it up. I actually don't know that right off the top of my head.
Because it's not the same guys who did the first one, because you said that was the Smallville guys, right?
Well, you know, I thought that was them, and in fact, I have to take that back, and what I said was really unfair, because they actually wrote this one.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they didn't write the first one. This was the one they wrote.
Oh, cool. That's interesting.
Isn't it, though? So, I can apologize profusely for all those horrible things I said. Now, I do think that their characterizations of Peter and Mary Jane and how they have their relationship in this are very indicative of stuff they did in Smallville. And that is still way too early 2000s teen angst for me. It's still way too WBCW. But they gave us a great villain. And honestly, that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, the only characters they could write in Smallville were the Luthers.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that was the stroke of genius in that show that kept me coming back. It's like they know how to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I was watching through first season of Smallville, the thing that got me excited was whenever Lex showed up.
Now tell me that this scene with these tentacles killing all these doctors feels like it belongs in this movie.
I don't know, not necessarily, but
just watching it. We've got this. It gets really silly. This girl with the nails in the floor and all that does not belong in this movie. That feels like something you would have seen in Darkman.
Yeah, that's true.
I may not have noticed it as hard had I not seen other movies by this director.
Yeah. Like Evil Dead and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it really feels like all of a sudden he's making a horror film in the middle of a superhero movie. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And people have said to me, well, you need it because it shows you what the arms are capable of, yada yada yada. I'm not saying that it doesn't like that it's not there for a reason. I just don't like it tonally.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think I just don't like the way that it's shot. I think having the idea of the tentacles kill a bunch of doctors, that's fine. But I didn't need the like nails in the floor and stuff.
Oh, so it was the point of gratuitousness that it went to?
Yeah, exactly. That's what irked me about it. I'm fine with him killing a bunch of doctors in the middle of this. And this part where he freaks out about it is great.
Yeah, and I love how the tentacles react. Like, I don't know, that's just really cool. The tentacles almost look like they're screaming themselves.
Yeah, that's cool.
The tentacles just in this movie, I think, have a lot of personality.
And it makes a lot of sense that they would do that because they have somewhat of a symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
I mean, they have personalities of their own, but they also react to him, and he and them are kind of creating a group consciousness in a way.
Like Venom.
Kind of like Venom. Well, if they couldn't do Venom right, at least they gave us something that's sort of like that in this that was done right.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, for sure.
But it makes 3 even more disappointing.
Yes, it does. Can you imagine if they did this type of story with
maybe
Venom?
Miller and Goff should have written 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just saying, can you imagine if they had did a story like this with Venom? That would have been awesome.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
If they had set up Eddie Brock in the previous movies as a person who worked at the Daily Bugle, I think that would have worked better as well, but...
What confounds me is the fact that Raimi felt the need to write 3 himself, even though he didn't like Venom.
He wrote the script for that?
Yeah, he and Ivan Raimi wrote it together, and I'm like, why wouldn't you just have somebody else write it like you had write this one?
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. I do think it's funny that apparently Doctor Strange exists in this universe someplace.
Yeah.
He is the only other Marvel character we can be sure does.
That's kind of cool, though, because they're both Stan Lee, Steve Ditko creations. I kind of like that.
Yeah, good point. I wonder if that was done intentionally or not.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're reacting to things if you're not watching this, but when J.K. Simmons says, "What do you know about high society?" And Peter's like, "Well, I guess nothing at all."
I love when he just laughs and then he just looks at him and goes, "Seriously?"
Yeah, that's great. I gotta tell you though, I don't like the dissolve transition. That's silly.
Yeah.
There's a dissolve transition from that scene in the Daily Bugle to going here to Dr. Octopus, and I'm like, what is this, Star Wars? Like,
see, I love the Dr. Octopus. I love his lair in this because it's such a nod to the Master Planner storyline from the comics, where he has an undersea base.
Do these things because I would have never known that.
Yeah, you know how Spider-Man gets trapped under all that metal in that issue?
Right.
In that issue, he's and they sort of homage that at the end too, where he has the wall where he's keeping Mary Jane. But
yeah, that's true.
He's
and it's the same place.
Yeah, during that issue, he gets trapped in Dr. Octopus's underwater base, and he had been tracking this secret guy called the Master Planner for a couple issues, and then you find out it's Dr. Octopus in that issue, and he gets trapped under the metal and he has to get out.
By the way, sometimes I feel the need to point out stuff like this. So this score that Elfman's doing right here is right out of Batman Returns.
True. Yeah, it kind of does sound like it.
It sounds a lot like the Penguin stuff he wrote for Batman Returns. And I'm not complaining. It works great. It totally fits here. But there's a lot of those same beats.
I generally
like I said the Penguin stuff, more the Catwoman stuff, really. He did a lot of those creepy, like high-pitched strings. I'm reminded mostly of the scene in the kitchen where she stuffs all the stuffed animals down the drain and turns on the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the same beats from the music from that sequence.
Huh. See, I don't know Batman Returns well enough. That's interesting. I have to go back and listen to that and compare.
It's a great soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I generally like Elfman's stuff. I love his score for the Ang Lee Hulk movie as well.
I do find that Elfman has a tendency to repeat himself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great composer. He has a lot of good ideas. Luckily, a lot of his ideas work in multiple movies.
Yeah.
But he does have a tendency to really repeat himself. If you go back, in fact, speaking of Darkman, because he composed Darkman.
Did he?
Which is the reason that I'm sure that Raimi got him for this, is because Raimi had worked with him before.
Mm-hmm.
Darkman came out a year before Batman did. And it's like the same soundtrack.
Wow.
It's not exactly the same, but if you go listen to Darkman or you watch that movie, you're going to be like, oh my god, it's 89.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I didn't realize that movie came out that long ago.
It did.
Huh.
Darkman was 88. I think it was 88.
I had heard that Raimi wanted to make a Batman film, too.
He had, yeah. In fact, that's a lot of the reason he made Darkman. Was because he was like, well, I'll just do my own character if I can't use one that exists already. No, I'm sorry, Darkman was 90, so it came out a year after Batman, but I'm pretty sure it was scored before Batman. I think I read that someplace.
Oh, okay.
Let's make sure I get my facts right. Maybe he scored them simultaneously, because they sound kind of the same.
Yeah.
In fact, what the wiki article says, and I knew I had read this, what the wiki article says about Darkman is that he had tried to secure the rights for the Shadow and Batman, and he couldn't get either of them, so he went and did his own thing.
Oh, okay.
Which is ironic, since the Shadow came out in '94.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. And I've never seen the Shadow movie, but have you?
I've done a rewind on it.
Oh, okay. Did you like the film?
Yeah, I think I gave it a 3.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I like a lot of things about it. So this bank heist scene is also right out of the comics, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you know what the plot was of that issue?
I don't know I don't remember specifically what issue the Doc Ock robs a bank in, but
I was just wondering
in general, I think
at that point for robbing a bank.
Yeah, just in general, like, I think it's awesome that we have a villain here robbing a bank. Because when I think about it, in a lot of, like, the superhero movies that came out during the era where they were taken more seriously, I can't think of a ton of them that had bank robberies. I mean, this and The Dark Knight come to mind.
I just think it's really... You're right, and it seems like you see them everywhere, because they were always all over the comics.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that Aunt May swats away that coin from that guy.
Yeah.
That always made me laugh.
Rosemary Harris is great.
She is great. In a lot of ways, I'm kind of glad that they quit making these after 3, just because she had to have been too old to make any more.
Yeah, that's true. And I really like Sally Fields in the new movie, too. I thought she had a really nuanced performance.
But she was much more ultimate.
Yeah, she was.
Which is good, because you don't want to see exactly the same, characters.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I thought Uncle Ben was great, too.
Oh, yeah, he was.
But I expected no less from that actor.
Oh, yeah, Martin Sheen's great. I liked, I don't know, I like both of the portrayals of Uncle Ben and Aunt May. I think Uncle Ben in Amazing Spider-Man's a little bit better because you spend a lot more time with him than in the first Spider-Man movie, but I thought Robertson did a good job with it in the first one.
Yeah, he sure did. I think that there are definitely some extras in this movie that are overacting. I wanted to say that from a scene a couple minutes ago where there's this woman with glasses that's screaming like crazy and runs all the way up into the camera. Like, did they really ask this random extra to do that? Like, I mean, they must have, because
yeah, they had to have.
I'm sure they had to have directed her to do that and run up into the camera. So, how do you think the CG in this movie holds up? Because there is a lot of Doc Ock Spider-Man CG that's clearly all 100% computer rendered.
Yeah. I think
especially the drop we're about to see right here. This bit right here, I mean, obviously this is all animated.
Yeah. I think it looks decent here. There's a lot of points in the first movie where you can definitely tell and it doesn't hold up as well, but...
Well, I think even there, it's obvious that that's how they did it, but that doesn't mean that it's not, like rendered well and well integrated.
Right,
it's just
true.
How you do that part. And I think that when you cut to something that's all 100% real like this, like you're really taking a gamble to cut back and forth.
Yeah.
And this is a place where they took that gamble and won, actually.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like the way they were fighting, too. It was sort of classic Doc Ock Spider-Man combat.
This is just thrilling.
Yeah, I love the whenever they use the web sort of slingshot thing, it always makes me happy because he does that a few times in the Stan Lee Steve Ditko run, and it's just cool to see them integrate little things like that.
And yay for all this proactive Aunt May. I think it's really great that they let her be in the middle of this big action scene.
Yeah, me too.
To do. And I also think that it's really cool how, again, you see these things that are really indicative of like her generation and the way she thinks about things, where like she's standing there for a really long time before she finally whacks him in the head.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do it until he plays dirty pool. And I think that's really cool. Like, she was
that's true.
Let Spider-Man finish him off, but then he pops that blade out in the back, and she's like, oh, he's not playing fair. It's like she was going to let him play this game.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not a fair fight anymore, so I'm not going to even let this happen now.
And this is at sort of the point where we're not sure. I mean, it's sort of obvious later on in this movie and in 3 that she knows Peter's Spider-Man. But here, we're not really sure if she knows, so it's not even like she has any stake in, seeing Spider-Man live or die.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those ambiguous things where where the people who made the film probably couldn't tell you at what point in the film.
Right, true.
She's done that, but I would bet money, if there was a way to know, that she doesn't know in that scene.
Yeah, I don't think she does either.
Because there's nothing that would have told her that between the time at the party that she says the less you see of that man, the better.
Yeah.
And
true.
now. And I really doubt she'd say something like that.
Yeah, and this is the...
If she knew. Unless she's just trying to keep his cover or something.
Yeah, true.
But I really think that, at least with Rosemary Harris's delivery there, the actress doesn't think she knows.
Right, true.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then you get the scene later on in the film where she's like talking about, I think there's a hero in all of us, and that sort of speech where it's sort of obvious that she has some sort of idea.
Yeah, at that point she's got to.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Sorry, we're just watching this movie now.
See, I can't picture anyone else playing that character.
No, I can't either.
And it's so unfortunate in the new cartoon. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with the new cartoon, but they cast him as J. Jonah Jameson in that show, and because he's so expensive, they only use him for like 3 lines, and he's like played on a billboard, and they use that billboard playing thing like a lot. It's like the same 3 lines played over and over and over again in all the episodes.
So it's probably not even worth having him.
No, not at all.
By the way, have you been watching that show just because you're a Spider-Man fan and you feel like you have to?
No, I'm not subjecting myself to that kind of pain.
Okay,
there.
that's good. That's good. I'm glad you have standards of some kind.
Yes.
I mean, your standards don't keep you away from current slot, but at least...
Yeah. I mean, that's a collector thing.
Nothing against people that are enjoying slot.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean to anybody. It's just Dan and I haven't been liking what he's been doing lately.
Yeah. And I was talking
at the time of this recording.
Yeah, and a lot of people like it. Like, I was talking to my comic shop owner, and he's a giant Spider-Man fan. Like, he has every issue of Amazing Spider-Man that's been printed. And
is cool with, like, the recent Blizzard arc and stuff?
Yeah, he likes it.
Well, nobody's perfect. He's also a comic shop owner. Some comic shop owners like to say they like everything because they're running a comic shop.
No, but, like, I've known this guy for a really long time. I talk with him for a couple hours every time I go in.
Oh, okay, so he's not like...
with him.
So it's cool that John Jameson is in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is cool.
I mean, he doesn't really do anything.
He doesn't turn into Man-Wolf.
I don't think he needed to turn into Man-Wolf.
Yeah,
I think that's okay. I think I could do without Man-Wolf. Is it ironic that Spider-Man has more horror characters than anybody else in the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, he's got Morbius, he's got Man-Wolf.
Yeah. Okay, I said that, now I can't think of any more than those two, but you know what I mean. Well, he's got the goblins.
Yeah, that is true. They have a whole Halloween motif going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hobgoblin at some points is nearly grotesque in the way that he's depicted.
Oh yeah, sure.
And Demogoblin, he is just straight grotesque. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And then you got things like the Doppelganger, which is just this giant creepy monster that looks like Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then you got Carnage. He's a serial killer.
Oh, and Carnage is a serial killer, and I mean, Spider-Man has monsters.
Yeah, he does.
X-Men has mutants. Spider-Man has monsters.
Yeah, and I've always liked that about the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery.
Me too, because, I mean, Spider-Man, character-wise, is always really lighthearted, but I think maybe the idea is that means that he can have these kind of darker, creepy, like, Halloween-type villains to kind of offset the...
Yeah. I mean, and we forgot Venom, too. He's a monster.
Yeah. I think there's a number of monsters. By the way, can I just go on record? There's no reason for me to say this, but I love Doppelganger. I think it's one of the coolest designs of anything ever.
Really?
Yeah, I love Doppelganger.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't care what you say. I love Doppelganger, and my wife loves Doppelganger too.
I don't have anything against him. He's just not, one of my characters that I love, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't love him character-wise necessarily. I mean, he's a pet monster guy. What is there to really latch onto? But he's really fun to look at.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a great monster. I don't know. We should maybe talk about this movie. But yeah, once again, Peter Parker can't get a break. Yep. Now he's got to take a picture of his would-be girlfriend's engagement.
And here
right after he said, "Can I go get you your drink?"
See, right here where they're swinging in slow motion, I feel like there should have been a narration or something over that. Not that it would have been effective, but I feel like they either planned on it or something. I don't know. It just seems weird that he's just swinging in slow motion. And the shot's clearly on his head.
It is a little weird that it's in slow motion. I think that we can definitely have a bunch of swinging around the city without having to have narration behind it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just felt like that's what the scene was sort of indicative of, you know what I mean? Whenever I see that, I'm like, maybe they were planning on putting a narration over there and then it got cut or whatever.
Yeah, maybe so. But did they need to also reuse this beat from the first movie of him trying to make his crawling work and the soundtrack go with it and stuff? Like, I don't know. This movie absolutely does not have sequelitis, but there's just a couple of places where it's like, remember this thing we did in the first movie?
Yeah, it tries to parallel a lot of things.
I don't need that necessarily.
Yeah.
But I'm completely nitpicking at this point.
See, that's the thing about this movie. It's so good that the problems we have are nitpicks, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a little unusual to see actors barefoot in scenes.
Oh yeah.
Just want to throw that out there.
Huh.
Yay, he's smoking.
Yay.
Everything about that. And you know what's really cool about that is that Doc Connors is a little bit more high society than some of the other people in this movie. He would smoke cigars.
Oh yeah, he would, for sure.
That's really cool. And I think that Doc Ock in the comics smoked cigars, right?
I think he did. I remember seeing drawings of him smoking. But I think he's one of the victims of the Marvel smoking ban when Quesada took over.
Oh. Well, you know what happened in my hometown, too.
Yeah. I just think it's silly that we aren't allowed to smoke in comics, but we're allowed to have our characters make deals with the devil.
Yeah,
That's good role models for kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that. Good point. I completely agree, Dan.
I just think it's really silly. I think Eric might have brought up that point in one of his videos. I might be stealing his point. I'm not sure.
Well, that's cool. It can be trademark Eric. I still agree.
I just want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you send him a check, okay? Here's your 5 cents for me saying that.
I think it's hilarious how this doctor has a tie-dye shirt on.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. It's really silly. Yeah, he's talking about uncertainty and everything. Clearly the movie is trying to say that his powers are failing because he doesn't have any confidence.
Yeah, it's a little...
But that doesn't make it work.
I think...
It's in his DNA, like you said. How does that happen?
Yeah, and you were talking about Smallville-ness before, and that's something that I could see in Smallville.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Oh, there's Uncle Ben.
So there's this trend where we have to make sure that Uncle Ben and Green Goblin both show up in all 3 movies, even though those 2 are dead after the first movie. And I think that it works great in this one. I think that they really had to push it to make it happen in 3.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't mind them taking Spider-Man back to origin because that's such an important part of the character. But I don't know, the whole... that's more of an issue with 3. I don't want to get ranty about 3 here, but...
No, I don't have a problem with them necessarily doing this.
Yeah.
Although I think that it is risky to do these scenes that are just playing out in a person's head that aren't actually real, or to do dream sequences and things like that.
They made it work really well, I think. I think the white effect in the background makes it pretty clear to us as an audience.
There's something confusing about it. I think that we all can be sure of what's going on. I just think that you're risking being hokey. I don't think it gets there. I think it's fine. But
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm agreeing with you. Like I think it is risky, and they pulled it off pretty well.
I've definitely seen other things that don't do it as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and it's the iconic issue 50
It's like,
scene.
no, it is hummable. I'm humming it right now. Shut up.
Oh, see, this is one of the things that made me geek out, and like seeing it or whatever, seeing the trash can with the costume in it, him walking away. See, that's one of my favorite scenes in all of Spider-Man, and seeing that play out exactly on film is just really cool. And then when they fade away with the eyes still on the screen.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now you know that because of that recent issue of Amazing, that we know that trash guy who brings that suit to J. Jonah Jameson actually put it on and ran around in it for a while.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Talking to the sun.
See, this is the sort of comedy montage that they tried to do in 3 again, and it totally didn't work at all.
I never was sure if it worked here.
I don't know.
Can I just throw that out? I get what it's doing. I actually think that it's that it does a lot of work for the story of this movie. I just think that, well, okay, there's one bit of it that I think is extremely silly and they shouldn't have done it, and that's the freeze frame. The freeze frame is just too goofy for this movie, I think. But the whole I'm trying to be confident, I'm trying to be okay with not being Spider-Man. I'm watching these cops run by me, and then I'm eating my hot dog in defiance. I love that. You know, that's what we should do with one of these commentaries, one of these, Dan. We should instead of even talking about the movie, we should just sit here for 2 hours saying what's going on the screen while we're watching it. And now Peter Parker's raising his hand.
I wish there was more scenes of him in school.
I do too.
In these movies, because being in school is such a big part of how his relationships are formed in the comics, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that's different than the comics, but I feel like school life is something that's so important in someone's life that skimming over it is something that I don't think they should have done, but they probably didn't have enough space or whatever.
Tell me that freeze frame was not really stupid.
It was kind of silly.
It's Raimi humor.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I'm laughing at it. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I also am not. I was never sure about it though.
Let me ask you this: how do you like Kirsten Dunst's performance in this movie?
I think Kirsten Dunst does fine. I don't like the character.
Yeah. That's my sort of.
And I'm not even going to say that I like her better than I did in 1. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't like her. She's not being fair to Peter at all.
Yeah.
He tried to show up to that thing. It's New York.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the things that she calls excuses are, legitimately things that people have a difficult time doing in a big city.
Yeah.
And I don't I see what they're trying to do. I don't think they manage it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I really want to see in the rebooted universe, when they eventually, or if they ever do bring in Mary Jane, sort of show us the characterization with her where it's sort of a parallel between them, where she acts really overconfident, but is really, sort of a damaged person inside, where, it's the same thing with Peter when he puts on his mask. It's a sort of show that they put on to be confident in and stuff like that.
Well, and that's what she was in the comics sometimes.
Yeah.
And I always loved that about her.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's a lot easier to be sympathetic and to appreciate a character when they're not complaining and trying really hard to be okay with their crappy lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you want to see. And I mean, like, you talk about damaged, you just look at her face at any point and she looks damaged.
Yeah, she does. They don't really do much with her sort of home life in this film series, and they make a point to show you in the first one, which I thought was kind of weird.
I thought so too, yeah. Yeah, they make sure you know that she's had this crappy background, and the thing is, she should be happier than she is, because her life is in, like, great shape.
Yeah, compared to where she was before.
And she's just... You know what this is? This just occurred to me, and I don't even think I talked about this in my rewind of this. I know what it is.
Yeah?
Because of who wrote this film, I know what it is.
What?
She kisses him at the end of the first movie and knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah?
And she's pissed because he hasn't told her that yet.
Huh.
And you know how I know? Because that is the Clark Kent Lana Lang relationship, Lana Lang relationship for 6 years.
Huh.
That whole relationship is her constantly being angry with him because he hasn't told her what she either already knows or is kind of on the edge of knowing. And so she's never able to come out and say, I'm mad at you because you won't tell me what this truth is, because she's wanting him to actually tell her that.
Yeah.
And they're playing that same thing from Smallville out on screen right now.
I mean, that does make sense, because at the end of the first one, she sort of touches her lips and is like, oh man. You know,
well, at least I think maybe that's what they're doing. Although you get to the end of this movie, see, now that I say that, I'm not sure I'm right, because then you get to the end of this movie, and when she, sees him without the mask, she's kind of like, oh my god. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Huh.
That's sure what it feels like watching those scenes, though.
Yeah, because either that or she's being completely unsympathetic and selfish.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, a normal, person that's being, intelligent about things would assume that, Peter Parker wasn't doing this to her on purpose. Mm-hmm. Because he has no reason to.
Right.
So it would be like a symptom of a bigger problem. It would be, he can't come to these things not because he doesn't want to, but because he won't tell me the big secret he has.
Mm-hmm. That's
Although
true.
It could be that that's supposed to be it too, where like Lana Lang, she doesn't actually really know, even though she sort of seemed to at the end of the first movie. And then she's like, well, he has this secret, but he won't tell me, and so I'm mad at him. I'm not sure.
I never looked at it that way, but it's sort of convoluted, so we can never really have any way of knowing.
It is convoluted, yeah. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
And so, just like Smallville, I have a love-hate relationship.
Again, I think this is another symptom of what we were talking about before. I don't think they got Peter and Mary Jane right in any of these movies. I still enjoy the first two movies. They're extremely entertaining. There's a lot of things I like about them, but I just don't think they nailed the characterization of those two quite right.
I think I will really enjoy the third one when we get to do a commentary on it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Oh, boy.
We're just going to regress to like 8-year-olds going, that's stupid. That's going to be the whole commentary. Look at that thing. That's dumb.
I have a sick daughter. That makes me a good person.
That makes it okay for me to break the law. He's like a one-dimensional caricature of Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, he is, and that's sort of interesting because like Sandman's sort of a one-dimensional caricature in the comics a lot of the time.
It's like the Raimis wrote that and they were like, okay, how do we do that thing that these writers that are better than us did? Yes, I just said the Smallville writers were better than them.
Yeah.
Credit where it's due. There's some great dialogue in this. But dialogue wasn't always Smallville's problem.
Oh, no.
Good dialogue.
I mean, the scenes between like Clark and Lex, fantastic stuff.
Especially the Lex Lionel scenes.
Oh yeah, for sure. See, this is one of those scenes that's always painful to see when it plays out in any sort of medium.
And I think it's written really well.
It is.
We're talking about that scene where he's finally telling Aunt May about what happened in the first movie.
It's sort of interesting that we're watching this movie because I recently read the Avenging Spider-Man issue I was telling you about before we started recording.
Oh, yeah.
Number 11. And that's sort of what the issue is him sort of talking to Aunt May about how he feels responsible for Uncle Ben's death. And you know how she doesn't know his identity anymore because of One More Day and all that crap. So,
right.
So the moments that have happened like this before, I guess, aren't in continuity but are. So that moment in the recent issue happened. It's kind of cool on the same day. Get to see it play out twice.
Wouldn't you assume that this is the scene that has to happen before Aunt May can start to put things together and figure out that he's Spider-Man?
Yeah, maybe this is the scene where that we were talking about before, where she kind of puts it together.
I don't think she puts it together while they're talking. I think that she's so overwhelmed, but that maybe what happens is that when she comes back to him later and says, let's put the past in the past and, water under the bridge and whatever, maybe part of that is she's starting to think that maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. And that's such a powerful shot when he puts his hand on her and she pulls it away.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And then it pans up to her face and she's devastated. Ugh, that's heavy stuff.
I don't think I could imagine another actress playing that version of that character.
Me either. She's the spitting image of 616 Aunt May.
Except she's not quite as frail. She doesn't look like she's going to fall apart at any moment.
Right.
I mean, 616 Aunt May, you look at her and pieces fall off.
They actually made a joke about that in the Avenging Spider-Man issue in the letters pages. There was a little picture of her, and it said, "When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not."
Oh, that's brilliant. That is a character I'm still a little surprised we haven't killed off yet.
Yeah, I mean, they've killed her, she's died twice, so...
Wait, she's actually died twice?
Yeah, she died in the 90s, and then they brought her back, and then JMS killed her right after Civil War, and that's what sparked the whole Back in Black thing, where he was angry and went after the Kingpin and almost killed him, because he ordered the hit on her. It was like what Slot's doing, but well-written.
Do you think these movies would have been greatly improved had they brought in the red Osborn hair?
Oh man, you don't know how much I love the ridged Osborn haircut.
I think it would have been great to try to. I think it would be great if we saw Norman Osborn in the next Amazing Spider-Man movie, and they figured out how to do that on screen.
That would be fantastic.
There's no way they ever do that.
I've seen people in real life with that haircut, oddly enough.
What?
Yeah.
That actually exists?
Yeah, I found a picture of it and I sent it.
They just had a crappy superpower.
I'll try to find it after we finish recording, but I found a picture of it and I thought it was so hilarious because me and Shades at Night were talking about it right before I found the picture in a Skype call.
There's this issue of Deadpool where Deadpool gets sent back in time to Amazing Spider-Man number 47.
Yeah.
And it's all drawn in that art style.
Oh, cool.
And he's constantly making fun of the Osborns and their haircut.
That's funny.
It really is.
See, that's something Deadpool that I could probably stomach reading, because it's connected to classic Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's a little bit long and drawn out, but I liked a lot of things about it.
Yeah.
I got your tritium right here.
See?
I wonder if tritium actually exists.
I don't know.
Is that a real thing?
Interesting thing to research. But see, I was going to say here we have the stereotypical super-villain team-up, but I almost didn't even realize it when I was watching it the first time. You know?
Tritium indeed does exist. It's a radioactive isotope of hydrogen.
Huh.
And it's extremely rare.
That's cool.
It's kind of neat that they actually built this into some real science.
That is cool.
This is goofy. Really? Crime is up a whole 75%? Really? Laying her on a bit thick, aren't we, movie?
Where's Doctor Strange when all this is going on?
Every time I see a newsstand like that, I'm always, trying to see if there's, any X-Men comics.
Yeah.
Apparently, tritium is formed by the interaction of the atmosphere with cosmic rays.
Huh. That's cool. If only this was in the same universe as Fantastic Four, because cosmic rays.
It's kind of neat.
This was always one of my favorite scenes in the movie too, where we have Peter Parker without his powers going into a building trying to save people, being proactive. You know, that's what I want to see. That's a funny moment when he tries to, shoulder the door in and he hurts himself.
This is a scene I really, really like because you see Peter Parker actually have to put himself on the line without superpowers.
Yeah.
And so even though I don't like this whole losing superpower thing, I like I always like it when the stakes are a bit higher. And again, I would like the whole losing superpower thing better if there was actually a good explanation for it.
Yeah.
Because again, we have this tritium thing, and we're looking this up, and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And then you go to this, and we just have this kind of haphazard, well, he's losing his powers because he doesn't feel confident enough about himself.
Yeah, that makes it even weirder now that I know that it's a real scientific thing with the...
There does appear to be more tritium in the world than what they let on in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is interesting. It's an important component in nuclear weapons.
Huh.
Is used to enhance the efficiency and yield of fission bombs and the fission stages of hydrogen bombs in a process known as boosting, as well as in external neutron initiators for such weapons.
Huh. That's interesting. If only the Hulk was in the same universe. Could have had gamma bombs.
Yeah. So that's your lecture on tritium, Dan.
That's really cool.
Tritium lecture.
That should be a trivia question.
It totally should. I'll make sure and write that down.
Yeah.
Okay, this extra that's saying some poor soul got trapped on the fourth floor,
yeah,
or whatever. That is like the worst line delivery ever. It's really
man, he was trapped on the 5th floor, didn't get out. It was awesome.
Sorry for cutting that, for calling that guy out. Some poor soul got trapped. It doesn't even sound like something that guy would probably say.
I know.
Some poor soul got caught on the floor.
He just doesn't even seem like he cares. He's just happy to be in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I would have stopped and been like, okay, can you deliver that line again as if it's not a line of dialogue?
Yeah.
I would say that so much if I was a film director. I want you to do it exactly the same way, except pretend like you didn't memorize it out of a script. I also wanted to say, I want you to do it exactly the same way, except nothing like you just did it.
Yeah. I think the girl who plays Dickovich's daughter is pretty good.
I wonder if she's been in anything else.
I don't know. She plays awkward and really well. It seems authentic to me,
Yeah, well, that's a prerequisite for being in these movies for a lot of actors. I'm a horrible person, but it's true. You know what, Dan?
Yeah?
I could really go for some chocolate cake right now, dude.
It's funny, too. The cake is actually vanilla with chocolate frosting.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, what she was giving him.
Should I make that a trivia question?
If you want.
No one's gonna know or care, but
I will.
You wanted to. Yeah, he's like, I would have known that one. Oh, I haven't given you a trivia question in a while.
I love this scene too.
I should look at these again and. Wait, so you said it's yellow cake with chocolate frosting?
Yeah.
I actually wrote a trivia question about that and wrote it wrong.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
So thanks, dude.
Now, what do you think of the speech that she gives Peter in this scene?
I thought it was great trailer fodder.
Do you think it seems corny in context?
Not in context. No. I think that they have established a heightened enough universe where people talk like this.
Yeah, me too. I've heard.
I'm gonna go with that explanation.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard some people say that they don't particularly care for it because it's, it's sort of like the what you said about the Nolan Batman movies before, where they kind of, like Gordon at the end of The Dark Knight comes out and like has this big speech as to what the theme of the film is, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
just not right at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's also a little different here because it's being, well, that's not right either, necessarily. I was going to say it's a little different because she's saying it to Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if that makes it any better.
If Gordon was saying that to Batman?
Yeah, that would be stupid. No, that would be a lot worse. That's why I shouldn't have even said anything at all.
So we'll hunt you.
Because you can take it. Sick dogs on you.
Batman's just like, oh, thanks.
Because you're the Dark Knight. He's like, can you stop talking? This is stupid.
I don't know. I'm sort of a sucker for dialogue like that. Like, I don't know. It's cool. And
well, when you're in the moment, you're like, "Ooh, this is dramatic and awesome."
Yeah.
And then when you're writing a critique later, you're like, "I guess I have to complain about this."
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Sure.
When Peter falls while web slinging and hurts his back, what is he holding behind his back as he walks away?
Did that scene already happen? Or is it happen later on?
That's later, I think.
Oh, when he's like doing the training sequence, he gets his powers back.
Yeah. Well, when he falls and then remember like the cars light up.
Oh yeah. When he's holding behind his back.
Yes.
I wasn't aware he was holding anything.
He's bent over.
Yeah.
And he's holding his back and he's got something in his fingers.
Huh. I don't know. I didn't notice.
Yeah, it's his glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm thinking like, what obscure object could he possibly be holding?
It's a cosmic cube, Dan. No use crying over spilled milk.
Thanos helps him up. It's just like, hey,
Thanos flies by in the Thanos copter.
Yes.
There's at least 100
damn
people.
I'll bide my time.
What are you guys even talking about?
Oh, the Thanos copter. That needs to be in Avengers 2 somehow.
Yeah, I was telling Coolio Vince about it, and he said the same thing.
Or in Guardians of the Galaxy, he just has a spaceship that looks like a helicopter.
Yeah, he's just flying around in a 1957 like army surplus helicopter.
That says Thanos.
Just drawn on the back of it that says Thanos. Not even like a cool logo or anything. He just wrote it in crayon.
In the cinematic universe, he's just like, Annihilus, write Thanos on his helicopter.
We got more slow motion here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was necessary.
His facial expressions are hilarious.
I think so too. I always wondered if he knew he was being shot in slow motion when he made those facial expressions.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any of the shots of, there's these really funny shots of Tobey Maguire running on the beach, and he has these hilarious facial expressions, and his hair is like, it looks like he's like, was just electrified or something.
Really?
It's really funny.
By the way, we should mention that Spider-Man's new sidekick in the comics, his last name is Maguire, and that's really stupid.
And his first name is Andrew, like Andrew Garfield.
That's so irritating.
I know.
Oh, here it comes.
There they are. See, I definitely don't know this one as well as one.
Well, I don't either. Well, I don't know. I don't think I know one as well as you, but I think I probably know this as well as I know one.
Yeah, true.
So no, Dan, I don't think I know this movie as well as you know one. So, I don't like this kissing upside down thing.
You don't?
I don't really like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes her come off as kind of shallow.
That's what I thought about it.
Just like, if this guy can kiss me upside down like Spider-Man can, then I'll marry him.
Yeah, but if it doesn't feel exactly the same, well, it's gonna be even worse. No, I'll still get in the dress.
Yeah, true.
Walk down the aisle.
See, you know what would have been cool? If John Jameson had a necklace on with a moon rock. That might have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been really silly. I would have been totally okay with it.
Yeah, because then it would have been like, look, he will be Man-Wolf, but we won't show it.
It'd been great if Mary Jane was like, you know, this would be a lot better if it was raining.
She looks so distraught too.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. I don't know. I don't care for this.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. What is that banner for? It's just like a bunch of...
Looks like clouds or dolphins. I can't tell.
Yeah.
That's kind of a neat shot. I haven't seen that in other things, where it fades through the window,
Yeah,
but
that's
the
cool.
shot doesn't cut. That's cool. Of course, that means that whole thing was a CG facade, and that this is on a set, and that they. Well, I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying
true.
they must have done that. Is that it's a CG facade, and then they ran a dolly through it, and then they added all that in post, and then they just faded it away.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's actually a cool way to make you not think about the fact that it's on a set. Unless you're me and you're going, hey, that must be a CGI facade. And now I'm actually thinking about this being a set. But
So I gotta listen to more director commentaries on movies and learn about stuff like that.
oh, sure, yeah. So Mary Jane wears a lot of hats.
Yeah, she does.
And I don't mean that metaphorically, like she has many jobs. I mean, she wears many hats.
Yeah, she does, and the hat that she has on now looks kind of strange with what she has on.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it matches. But I don't mean to be the fashion police.
Me either. Whenever I see one of those hats, I picture like
that character for.
Yeah.
Than what he's wearing.
When I see like those wool knitting hat and like, one, it's not cold out.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, is your head cold? Why is your head cold? Peter Parker doesn't need a hat.
And two, whenever I see one of those hats, I always associate it with like Rasta things. Like I always see like Rasta printed wool hats like that with like, you know, Jamaican flag colors. And she's got like this nice dress on. I don't know.
I can't believe we're talking about that. That's hilarious. You know, I think the Spider-Man films established that it is okay now to have a couple that talk but don't actually have dialogue. We used to have to write scenes like this. Well, I think what makes it worse is the fact that it probably is written.
Yeah. Look at how awkward he is.
Like, yeah. I like that his glasses are broken.
Yeah, me too.
There's a nice attention to detail in some places on this.
This is a really cool shot too, where he's sort of spinning into the camera.
And that's a place that has to be in slow motion. There's no other way to shoot that.
Yeah.
You know what the heck you're looking at. I think Doc Ock makes zero sense right now. I love Doc Ock's motivations. I love everything about this character. But this on into the train and everything is the most awkward way to try to kidnap a person I've ever seen. Because he's supposed to bring Spider-Man to Harry Osborn alive. And the first thing he does is throw a car at him.
That is
true.
Actually,
he doesn't even know Peter Parker is Spider-Man at this point. So it's even worse. He knows that Peter Parker knows Spider-Man, and that's how he's going to find him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to throw a car at him.
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
Good thing he threw it in such a way where he somehow knew the exact trajectory that they would dock.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's even dumber because now he's going to throw him under all this rubble. Like, a normal person couldn't have survived that. But then he's just sitting here like, and he's going to go get Spider-Man. No, he's dead, dude.
Yeah.
And then he breaks out of this like a superhero. I'm sorry, it's really stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know, it's just all for dramatic effect so we can have a bunch of glass breaking and things. And I mean, it's thrilling to watch, but if you really think about the motivations behind it, it all breaks down.
Yeah, that is true.
And then, like, the way he fights Spider-Man on the train, it's like, wait, here it comes. He's gonna break out of this thing like he's Super Shredder.
The Super Shredder. Oh, I never would have thought of that. That's awesome. I just want to see him, like, punching...
See, look, apparently it's all related to adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm pissed, now I got my powers back.
Huh.
See, because now he doesn't need his glasses, and he's not going to lose his powers at all while he's fighting Doc Ock. So he's got all of his strength, because he's got all this adrenaline. There is no scientific nothing behind any of this.
So he's just like on a adrenaline rush all the time before this then.
Apparently so. Well, we know two big things about his life before this that would keep his adrenaline up all the time. One is that somehow or rather he has to constantly deliver pizzas within 21 minutes. And the other is that he drank nothing but Dr. Pepper. So, hey Jonah, just one time, would you please put that costume on?
He does in a deleted scene.
What?
Yeah, he's on the desk pretending to be Spider-Man. He goes,
You're totally messing with me.
No, I'm serious.
Wow. I was just making a joke. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's kind of weird. When they showed that shot of the spider costume on the wall, were the boots on the wall?
No.
That's weird.
Nope, there were no boots. Apparently he just carries those around with him. They're adrenaline boots!
They're like Wolverine's claws. Whenever he needs them, he just
once
takes
again,
them.
I know I'm complaining about some things, but I want to give credit where it's due, and I also want to complain where I think that's due.
Yeah.
Also. Okay, now what you do, Doc Ock, is you hit him in the face. Just hit him in the face. You've got 6 arms, dude. It shouldn't be taking you this long. And we're going to take this all the way to a train. And I mean, Spider-Man's not accustomed to fighting a dude with 6 arms.
This is true. I just have to say, when he was shooting the web balls there,
I like that he hits it with his hand. I mean, they do a really cool job in this movie of using, objects in the scene as weapons and things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of fun.
This is probably one of the best action sequences in a superhero movie right here, I think.
I agree with you. It really is. It's going to be hard to talk over it.
Yeah.
Let's call it like football, Dan. And
just like, we'll commentate like John Madden. Just be like, oh, we got some 2 guys fighting here, fighting good stuff.
There's a guy with 6 arms. Spider-Man's like, I really didn't think I could fit through those holes, but there I went. And they fight inside and they fight outside, and
it's so cool. I love when he saves the people, that get thrown off the train with the webs too.
Yeah,
really cool.
I'm really glad that he has such good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Grab each of them with those webs.
Yeah.
It's just great. Well, I mean, it's really indicative of the character, It's I care about people before I care about this fight I'm having.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. On my watch, no one dies!
Unless I'm the one murdering people.
I think it's awesome how he slides across the ground.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I mean, I really like this new thing they're doing with Amazing Spider-Man where they're actually having, real people on webs.
Yeah, me too.
But they do some stuff in the CG here that you couldn't possibly do.
Yeah, the swinging in this movie is much more indicative of what I would have pictured Spider-Man moving like in live action when he's swinging.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But in combat in Amazing Spider-Man, like when he's fighting the Lizard, I think that's very much more indicative of comic book Spider-Man, like when he puts him in the web cocoon and stuff like that.
There was definitely a bit right there that was a little too CG for my taste.
Yeah.
Damn, they're just watching things happening. Because it's thrilling. Okay, again, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So, the way I'm going to capture this person is by making a runaway train happen.
And then leaving him to save it and not coming back.
Somehow or rather, I know that this is going to wear him down enough that he will faint at the end of it and I can grab him and fly off with him. It's really the weirdest plan.
Yeah.
It's a very strange plan. Now, granted, you have to assume that it probably is a plan that he's coming up with on his feet.
He's just making it up as he goes. That's Doc Ock right there.
It's like Joker at the end of Dark Knight. You know, it'd be really fun. Give me a couple barges. Get a couple of detonators. I got that stuff just laying around. I got an hour to make this happen, but I got the minions to do it. Here we go. See, Doc Ock can do this crap with no minions. Got no Ock minions.
He's got his tentacle minions.
Got tentacle minions. Well, they're not even minions. They're calling the shots, dude.
Yeah, that's true. He's the minion.
Be the worst name for a supervillain ever. I'm the Minion. Whose minion are you? I work for me.
See, when we talk about minions, I picture those little things from Despicable Me.
Oh, yeah.
With the, like, one eye or whatever. Never saw that movie. I heard it was good, though.
It was cool. It could have been better.
Yeah.
I wish that it wasn't another one of those plots where some annoying little kids have to teach an old guy a lesson.
Oh, true. That's what it was all about?
Yeah. Yeah, the part where about him being a supervillain was awesome.
Oh, cool. So I just thought that shot of Tobey Maguire just screaming bloody murder while the train's going was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
My plan is to scream until it stops.
Like, what would Doc Ock do if this didn't work? Like, really? What if this train, like, how could he possibly plan this? Look at this. This train is barely going to hold on by its own thread. Yep, I said it. By a thread. And then Doc Ock just shows back up at the end of this, like it was his plan all along. He's just like, yeah, I knew this would happen. I knew he would fall asleep, and then these people would grab him, and he would not fall over the edge and kill himself. And I knew that they would kindly.
We knew Phil Lamar would put a hand on his chest and push him in.
We knew he'd go all the way back to the end of the train so that I could come out and then just knock them all out.
Did you notice Phil Lamar there?
I don't know who that is.
He's a actor. He was on Mad TV, and he's a voice actor too, and I think he's done some voice work as Marvel characters, oddly enough.
Oh, I guess I don't know who that is.
I can't remember who he's played, but I believe he has. He's that guy right there.
Okay.
No, I was trying to point him out, and then the scene changed.
Yeah. I guess I'm making a really big deal out of this, but once again, Dan, I gotta ask you, what is Doc Ock doing during all of this?
He's, just biding his time.
For dramatic effect for the audience. That's nice.
No, you know what he's doing? He's talking to his tentacles, and they're telling him how stupid this plan is. They're mad at him.
He's gonna work. I promise. We just gotta wait for this kid to give him his mask back and say how we won't tell nobody. That mask actually doesn't really look like it would fit a person. Just the shape that it is.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I always thought that when I was when I first saw this, I was like, huh, this is not shaped like I would have expected it to be shaped. But I mean, clearly,
put it on in the shot here.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, clearly that's actually the mask.
Oh, but they cut away. Huh.
Yeah, but it's the mask. It's so tight fitting.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that. We're not talking about anything of substance right now.
There he is. He's back.
He's angry. And I knew this was going to happen.
So, how do you feel about this scene, the New Yorkers standing up for him? Because I know in Spider-Man 1, when all the people start going, you mess with all of us. Yeah. I agree with everyone when they say that's kind of corny. But how do you feel about it here?
I got no problem with it.
Yeah, me either. Because it makes more sense here.
I didn't have much of a problem with it in the first one. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
Like, if that's the only thing you have to complain about the first one...
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, on a corniness level, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm just making fun of you. It's one of those things that I never even thought about.
Yeah. Did he wrap him up in barbed wire?
Yes. It's barbed wire.
That's painful.
Seriously, he should be dead by this point. Threw a car at him. He basically threw a train at him.
Did that safe not have a lock on it? Because Harry Osborn just kind of like, pulled the handle and it opened.
It only opens for his DNA.
But when he's not confident, it won't open.
That's genius. He can't open it until he has the raindrops are falling on my head moment. I want that knife. That's a cool looking knife.
Yeah, it is. I love how he has it right next to the picture of him and his dad, too.
I collect knives and swords and things, and that would be cool.
Yeah.
Man. No, you have caused him the pain. Look at the barbed wire.
The knife almost looks like Raphael's sai.
Kinda does.
Oh, that had to have been painful.
Okay, ow. Like when he just breaks all that barbed wire off himself. I guess it's not really barbed wire because it should be poking. I mean, he's got these rips in his costume, so clearly you can rip through it.
Yeah.
He should have these little rip points all over. So we're not talking about anything of substance. It is really hard to talk through this movie for some reason. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah. I think it's that we just don't have any problems with it.
Oh, I have some problems. I've been talking about my problems.
Yeah, I mean, like, in this scene specifically,
I see what you mean, yeah. No, this is a great scene.
Yeah.
I got no problem. That's a great line. There are bigger things happening here than me and you. That's a good line.
Yes, it is. And they try to do the same sort of thing in 3. It's kind of weird. 3, the more we talk about it, conceptually and, like, the things they do with the characters, it's almost sort of a retread of 2 in a lot of ways.
It actually has some sequelitis for this film, yeah. And I think part of the problem is that the director wrote it.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that after seeing how much people liked 2, they sort of wanted to do the same sort of thing with it.
Well, that can be the kiss of death sometimes for a franchise. Exactly. Especially when the first one, when it's not your first one that's so good, but it's your second one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like a lot of things about Spider-Man 1, but this is a far superior film on every level.
Yes, agreed.
Visually, story-wise, characterization, everything's better. There's more pizza, everything's better.
Pizza power! See, we got 2 Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, there's more Ninja Turtles in this than I would have expected. I should have known Osborn wouldn't have the spine to finish you. He should have thrown a car at you and taken you to a train.
And expected you to live.
If you would just do things my way where I read the script first and knew what was going to happen.
I can't imagine the things Doc Ock would have done to him if he actually wanted to kill him. Like, he was trying to capture him last time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. God, what's he going to do if he wants him dead? Once again, we got the token Mary Jane's got to have a wet blouse scene.
Yeah. You can see right through it.
Yeah, I know. It is definitely an issue, and it became more of one by 3, that she's got to get kidnapped in every movie.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Me either.
That is not necessary, and it wasn't necessary here either.
See, I like the Mary Jane of the comics where, like, she's a strong enough woman that she's able to do things without Peter. Like, there's moments in the comics, like, sort of what they did with Aunt May in here, where, like, Peter's up against a villain fighting, and Mary Jane will actually help him win the fight, you know? I like little moments like that, but she's not like that at all in these movies.
Well, the problem with her in this is that she's always just thinking about herself and stuff, and, well, I guess she's picking up this log, and...
Oh, yeah, true.
She's obviously... Yeah,
too soon.
You're wrong. She just sucks at it. She's no Aunt May in a fight.
Yeah.
I want that on a T-shirt. You're going to make it a fight.
You don't want to invoke the rage of Aunt May.
It's kind of sad when that's true, though.
Yeah.
Man, all we need right now is Aunt May with an umbrella, and he'd be done.
She just kind of flies in Mary Poppins style. She's like, all right, the fight's
Mary
over.
Jane! Sorry, Aunt May, pull something out of your handbag! Preferably something much longer than anything that could possibly actually fit in there.
She just has a machine gun.
So what are we back in the end of Superman 2 again? with all the stuff flying across the screen and
Yeah. See, this is the sort of thing in superhero movies that was sort of a stereotype at the time where you need to kill the villain off at the end of the movie, but it makes so much sense here that I don't care.
Yeah, I was fine with it here. It's also always better when there's only one.
True.
If you have to kill them, just because you don't have the token, one's got to live and one's got to die. Because we'll talk about that when we get to 3.
Yeah. I'm really grateful that they didn't kill Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man, because
Me too. Yeah.
I think it's such a
not against that stereotype.
Yeah, like it's such a missed opportunity with the Spider-Man villains, especially to kill him, because you could eventually do Sinister Six.
Yeah, although that would mean that we're gonna need like 4 or 5 villains set up in the second one.
I mean, like, I don't know.
Oh, he just said that line I hate.
Yeah, where it's contradictory to the.
I would like to bring that contradiction up. Yeah. Where we talked over that first scene where he said it in the first place. But just for people that haven't heard me talk about it before, he's got this thing where he says that he says something about like science and how what they're able to do with it is like a privilege, is like not a privilege, it's like a responsibility. But then here he calls it a privilege, and that's just stupid.
Yeah.
He just completely contradicts the thing he said.
Lazy writing on their part.
Yeah, it's really lazy writing. But there is a nice parallel here with these two, where they both have plots about responsibility and and how he has a responsibility to get rid of this thing because it ultimately didn't work and.
Yeah, that's always who the best Spider-Man villains are, is the ones that are the responsibility is sort of the main crux of their villainousness. That's all what Norman Osborn's about, though.
Yeah.
Lack of responsibility on his part in his life.
Well, and he's a villain that basically, at least originally before he had the arms, was trying to save the world.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then once he got the arms and everything, it was more about trying to see if the experiment would work and just like fulfilling his life's work more than it was actually the original point of doing something like a big fusion reactor.
Yeah. And I like how it sort of validates thematically what Spider-Man's trying to do, where it's like Doc Ock's trying to save the world on such a big scale and he fails because he's sort of, screwing with science, that sort of classic thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then just kind of the social implication of trying to, the easy patchwork way out.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea that science is not going to work because it's too easy.
Exactly.
And that life is harder than that. Some of those same themes actually play out in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, true.
Which also, ironically, has a machine of limitless power that's trying to give everybody perfect clean energy and all that.
If only there was someone with a weird voice in both of them.
I'm kind of glad that Doc Ock doesn't have a weird voice.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm glad he didn't try to play with like an accent or something.
Yeah, because they sort of do that in the animated series, don't they? He has sort of an accent in that.
I like his accent in there though, because he's just British in that show.
Yeah.
That's all. It's
and that
not
makes sense.
Fake and stupid. He's just British.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, what works about the villain dying in this is that it's sad that he has to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it doesn't feel like a token villain death, at least to me. It's like, I didn't want him to have to die.
Yeah, and Green Goblin was sort of like that in the first.
Yeah, it was. And here he's actually... Well, Green Goblin died trying to kill Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He dies kind of paying his penance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love that look on his face when he's falling. It's hard to tell if he's actually dead yet or not.
Yeah.
You wonder if he actually drowns to death, which is kind of sad, you know. And it's like he's fallen to his death, and if he's actually, you know, he looks like his wheels are spinning there. I mean, if he's actually still alive and he's thinking, he's like, you know, I'm paying my due for all these horrible things I did.
Yeah, and it's sort of, if he is still ticking at that point, I mean, he probably could have got out of that situation, but he's sort of, you know, obviously feels that this is something, you know, he deserves to die.
It's about him at this point.
Yeah. He's beyond redemption.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is.
Oh. It's so sad I don't give a crap about what's going on screen right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think is, well, like we said before, they don't get the characterizations right. And at the core of Spider-Man is the human relationships. I mean, that's what people love about Spider-Man so much, I think, majoritively, is the relationship that Peter has with his various girlfriends and stuff. Like, you'll have people arguing over who they like better, and, you know, people were so upset about the marriage, and here it's just non-existent. You know, it's not interesting.
And in a lot of ways, they're trying. I mean,
yeah, they are. They're trying.
She's being super selfish. I'm not sure that he is. I think he spent this entire movie trying to put her first.
Yeah, he has.
As much as possible, but also he's got to put Spider-Man first, and that's why ultimately he has that scene where he tries to, and I always hate those scenes, by the way, where the guy who obviously loves the girl tries to say that he doesn't.
Yeah.
Just to get out of it. But I mean, you know, but even still, you know, he does that because at that point he's like, no, I kind of have a responsibility. I still have to be Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. This good old Johnny boy.
You know, it's a good thing that it's cloudy, because I think the worst thing they could have possibly done was put a full moon up there.
Yeah, that's true.
With that character running down.
That would have been really funny.
All cried foul. We'd be like, it's a full moon and he's not changing into a werewolf. You guys don't know anything about Spider-Man. Hey, you. I don't care if every other scene had an iconic comic book cover embedded in it somewhere.
See, if it was a full moon, what he's doing to her right now would be really dangerous.
Spider-Man swings away and then suddenly we just hear,
Morbius swoops in just to join the party, why not?
Oh god. And then Spider-Man's like, oh, I can kill him, that's okay. So, there are, I guess I'm going to mention something before it happens here, but I'm afraid I'll forget about it.
Yeah.
There are some things that are really silly in these movies that I don't think were really warranted. But once again, it's kind of a heightened reality, and in the context of it, sometimes the silly things are cool in a way that they wouldn't be in other things.
Yeah.
I love that he's wearing a green bow tie in the last scene of this movie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is like the coolest thing ever. I remember being in the theater just going, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I agree.
Yeah, it's Defoe.
Yeah. I love Defoe.
And once again, this scene works.
Oh yeah, it does. These hallucinations of Norman were always one of my favorite parts of Harry's character in the comics. And
Does he actually have hallucinations of his own father?
Yes, he does. He appears as a ghost and is able to manipulate things around. That's like, you saw the door move and stuff before?
This is, by the way, a place where a character can start crying, and I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Seeing your own father?
I think it's really neat that he has the secret lair behind the mirror where he first saw himself as the Goblin too.
That is cool. Now, I do have to ask you this, though.
Yeah.
Does it really... I mean, I'm just checking it. Does it really make much sense that he would have hallucinations before he was on the fluid stuff?
The drugs that he was on?
Yeah.
He has hallucinations later on, like, they do a story, the story where he dies, he has hallucinations of Norman pretty frequently when he's off drugs. So it's sort of, they never really explain what causes the hallucinations, whether it's Norman's ghost sort of haunting him or it's Harry's drug-induced.
Well, I'm just saying in the context of these movies.
Oh, these movies.
Yeah, because he has that hallucination of him, and then he gets that stuff.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
It was that stuff that caused the hallucinations in Norman in the first movie. I'm not sure it really makes sense. It seems like it's kind of more for the audience.
Yeah, true.
I still love it. I mean, I'm not going to cry foul that hard. But that's part of what makes 3 kind of weird, is that he's sort of crazy because he's on that stuff, but then he's sort of a superhero at the end.
Yeah.
Little problematic.
Yeah, it is. And I don't like the fact that he looks like a snowboarder.
Well, no, me neither. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to talk about these without talking about 3 now.
Green bow tie.
There it is! Oh, it's so cool.
That's so comic book, too.
Isn't it, though? It's the little things, Dan.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I was reading Hawkeye recently, and he wears purple ties all the time. Reminds me of that.
He's like a Power Ranger.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be neat if he just had, like, an entirely green suit?
Yeah, that would have been going way too far.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously. Well, and actually, I think that they were trying to be really careful not to make it goofy.
Yeah.
Because it's not even like it's bright green or anything. I mean,
yeah.
it works with his outfit. But I just think it's... But one thing that's kind of funny about it, though, is that it's not like anybody else is wearing that color.
Yeah, that is true.
Although he's not in the wedding party or anything, is he?
Maybe Harry's, like, just took the serum and he thinks he's being clever.
Actually, I missed that. Is Harry actually in the wedding party?
I'm not sure.
It seems like he probably would be.
Yeah.
Okay, but the only reason I'm mentioning it is because in the wedding party, everybody wears the same color everything.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So that would mean that he would deliberately have had to go get a green bow tie and put it on and hope nobody noticed.
It's part of his evil scheme.
It's hilarious. He, too, has a Power Ranger, which is even better because it's green, and that's the evil color.
Don't you want to see James Franco have a morphing sequence now?
Oh, yeah. James Franco is the evil Green Ranger?
See, when they reboot Power Rangers...
James Franco, a 35-year-old James Franco. He's like, you're never too old for this, even though I've never done it before. So, I just think that Mary Jane is evil and cruel and a horrible human being.
Yeah.
For leaving that guy at the altar. Even if she's going to Spider-Man. I don't like any of it.
And it's pretty obvious she was in love with Peter the whole time and was going through with the marriage just to, get at him.
Yeah, I don't like... Exactly. I don't like non-proactive characters. I don't like people being vindictive like this for no good reason. I mean, again, it can be a character arc. I'm not saying that everyone has to be, like, perfect angels all the time or I won't like them. But there needed to be this character arc, even though she's not the protagonist, where she gets over that and then she somehow or rather has a place where she kind of apologizes for it. We don't have that here. Yeah. She seems completely content with this terrible thing she just did.
Yeah, and there's no consequences for her choice either.
No, exactly. That's the problem. Maybe Spider-Man 3 should have been John Jameson, like, coming after Peter Parker and trying to eat his face.
Van Wolf. See, that would have played into Raimi's sensibilities, too. He's a horror guy.
Yeah, and that's early Spider-Man.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how early Man Wolf is.
I think it's 70s.
Okay, it's not late.
Right, yeah. He could have done Morbius as well.
I will say, and maybe I'm just too much of a fanboy.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I don't mean to be, but in the theater, the first time I saw this, even though I wasn't digging the way she was at the end, the fact that they finally had her say "Go get him, Tiger" kind of made me tear up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That got me a bit.
But
and her delivery of it's great.
Yeah, it's just I can't picture this version of the character talking like that.
No, I can't either. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And what drove me crazy about Spider-Man 1, and I think we talked about this when we did our commentary on it, was that I kind of saw her as that version for the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Suddenly, it was like a light switch, and she was this.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so irritating and so frustrating, is that it seems like they kind of got her.
Yeah.
And then they almost had to go out of their way to make it not work.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. All right. Here's the credits with the spiderwebs.
Wow, this music doesn't even kind of follow the ending of this movie very well at all.
Yeah.
Like, you don't suddenly want, like, you know, something you could have imagined in, like, the background of a of a scene of Smallville. I like the song. I mean, this is a song I happen to know and like, but I just, I don't know. There's a part of me, I don't know if I've ever told you about this, there's a part of me that actually kind of appreciates the old way we used to do credits in classic film, where you had all the credits at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, I kind of like that too.
And I know a lot of people who have to sit through old films and aren't accustomed to that now are like, God, why do I have to sit through 5 minutes of credits of a movie I don't even know if I like yet? But the reason that it's cool is because obviously the credits have to be in the movie someplace, and when you get to the end of the movie and there aren't all those credits, when the lights go up in the theater or when you turn off your DVD player or whatever, the last image you're left with is the last image the director meant for you to be left with. It gives him a lot more control over what he wants you to take away from it. It's like the last chord of a piece when you go to like a classical concert or a jazz concert or something. That's why when you go to like a classical concert and you have a composer, you're not supposed to clap until the composer puts his hands down.
That's really interesting. I never would have thought of it that way. But that's definitely true. And I think you can make the credits entertaining enough where I think most people will be able to sit through them. Like the opening credits sequence to this, I thought was pretty cool. And if they had extended it a bit,
then you wouldn't even need this at the end. But it's just not how we do it now.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it's technically something that you can do anymore. Like, I don't know if you're even allowed to do that now.
Yeah. I think, have you ever played video games where, like, the credits are going on during the gameplay while you're walking around, like, the credits will appear on buildings and stuff?
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that would be cool to have in a movie.
I think the problem is that it takes so many people to make a movie these days that you couldn't get away with it.
Yeah, true.
Because we still do that sometimes with the major credits.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they do clever ways to do credits all the time, but they can't do all of these people's credits that way.
Right, true.
It's just too much of it. And I think that's also part of the reason that we don't do it that way anymore, because it didn't used to take all these people to make a movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good
Especially
point.
big action movies, with all these... I mean, big action movies still took more people than other things did, but we didn't have so many computer people and stuff.
True.
No? You used to have a few map painters, you were done.
Yeah. And by the way, when we were going through the credits, I noticed Alex Ross was the recap guy.
He was what?
He was the recap guy at the beginning that drew the images.
Oh, cool.
Just figured I'd throw that out there.
It's pretty clear that he drew at least some of them.
Yeah.
Because that one that you pointed out, I was like, yeah, that's Alex Ross. If somebody else drew that, they traced Alex Ross.
Yeah.
Obviously. These commentaries go quick, dude.
Yeah, this movie felt short. I love
this is now
Spider-Man
my
theme.
favorite version of the Spider-Man theme. I was just going to say that. This is Michael Bublé.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's very, very cool.
It's almost kind of weird that they didn't play this in the jazz club in 3.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. I'm sort of glad they didn't.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty ridiculous. All the places they felt the need to put the theme.
I thought in 1 and 2 where they had the theme was kind of funny, though.
Oh, I like that, too. It's just that after the first one, I started wondering in the context of the movie, like, who wrote it?
Yeah.
Played it first. Random people just started playing it, like, in the streets and in, like, alleyways and things.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, thanks a lot for doing another one of these with me.
Oh, no problem. It was a lot of fun.
And I think we're not going to wait another 4 months to do 3. I think we should do that sometime relatively soon.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for listening to Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. Hope you enjoyed the podcast commentary, and we'll see you again with another podcast very shortly. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.